Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, councilors. This is a meeting of the Revere City Council Subcommittee on Public Works, and we had put two items on the agenda. One was about, believe it or not, winter parking and snow removal plans, and also an update on pothole repairs and other items in Public Works. I had been in touch with the mayor and Chief Caffarelli and Chief Doherty, and they're still working on the winter plan for next year. They will be coming in August. We will have a meeting, a separate meeting just for all the changes of what the proposals will be for next winter. And I can tell you that the initial schedule would be that we have the initial meeting and the presentation in August. We'll present it to the Traffic Commission for September and have public hearings and hopefully have all our ordinances changed by the end of October, maybe November if we have to. And we have the chairman and superintendent here with us. And I know we really don't have to get too deep into that, but I know we'll be talking about one-way streets, one-sided parking potentially. So if you just want to do briefly, Donnie.
Yeah, a brief overview. We have some drafts that we put together. Obviously, we'll present them to the council and the Traffic Commission to get any input from, the councils. But basically, it goes back to all the prior problems that we've had during past winters with congested streets, accessibility for emergency vehicles. We're looking at anywhere from changing multiple streets to permanently one-ways, one-sided parking during the winter. We've already made several adjustments to our ordinances that will have to be reviewed by the council and approved. We have another staff meeting tomorrow to go over some of the suggestions that the councils have set forth. It's a work in progress, but it will take, and I agree, Ira, it's sometime into October before we can get it finalized.
Thanks, Tony. And I just want to acknowledge the members that are here. Members of the Public Works Committee are myself, Councilor Guanasso, Councilor Patch, and Councilor Reardon, and also Councilor Powers, Council President Powers. So those here tonight are Councilor Reardon, Councilor Powers, Councilor Patch, Councilor Morabito, and Councilor Giannino. So most of the members of the Public Works Committee are the ward councilors, and because they have the most action, with Public Works that goes on around the city and dealing with the superintendent and members of his staff. So I don't think we really have to pursue the winter issue right now. I think we'll go to the other item, which I know everybody is, and I know you're inundated, especially after your vacation, of what's been going on. So we're just looking for an update on potholes. I know we have an RFP going out again, or for privatizing some potholes or trenches. So if you would just want to clarify that for a second.
What I put together and requested from the mayor in this year's budget was two items in this year's budget, which the council approved. One was for structures, for repairs to catch basins and manholes, and the other was for trenches, water trenches, potholes, things of this nature we get behind. Especially with the trenches, because the trenches can do a lot of damage. They really can. They're big. This was a very difficult year for the water department. They've had 70-some-odd water breaks since the beginning of the year, so it's been very difficult for them. So in the specifications, we put in that whoever the contractor is who will be handling pothole repairs, catch basin, after they're done repairing them, you got to fill in behind it, trench repairs, that they have to respond within 24 hours of us calling in to have them, repair whatever damage may have occurred.
Good. And I know we're all inundated with the Pothole. I know I've been talking to Donnie and the mayor over the last couple of days, and it's, and I don't mind saying, but, it's not only potholes that we're dealing with here. We have a lot of, there's, 3 or 4 departments under Donnie, between highway and water and sewer and sign department and carpentry and
Traffic,
And
we've
so,
got
but
park and recs.
I know we all have motions and requests in for many, many things, and I know it's frustrating for all of us sitting up here, and also, the superintendent and his staff with the amount of work that has to be done and the lack of personnel that he has. But let me just say, before I go into some questions of the councilors, I know in the budget we put in for 7 new people. Now, when would they be starting?
We are presently putting skill sets together and job descriptions for those individuals. The way it was budgeted, they will be coming in around the 1st of the year, which is January.
Okay, and what
They will all be going.
departments?
They will all be going into the water sewer billing enterprise side of the DPW, and this was for us to get in line with our consent decree with the federal government. Obviously, we would love to have the same number put on the DPW general side. I mean, I don't have to keep echoing the fact, I know you guys are well aware, you've been very supportive of us, is that we are shorthanded. You mentioned the carpentry division, there's 1 guy. The sign department, there's 1 guy. Parks department, there's 2 guys. Highway, there's 3 guys. So you can see where it's very difficult. So you go into work, who's in, who's out, who's on vacation, who's sick. It's like juggling chainsaws to get people out there to go to work.
And may I
every day.
say, no mechanic?
Right, exactly. We don't have a mechanic. And so it makes things difficult, to say the least. But, the guys put a good effort in. Sometimes they get criticized because they let things go. And they do let things go at times only because they're prioritizing something that's more detrimental to the public safety than, say, a smaller issue. And as a former ward councilor, I understand you people have to listen to your constituency, and, what may be the priority of a ward councilor in Ward 5 may not be the same priority to a ward councilor in 2 or 4 or 6. So it's a balancing and a juggling act to try to keep 11 councilors all happy at the same time. And it becomes a difficult task because we do have to, most of the work that we do for the residents of the city actually come in from the residents. We take calls from them every single day, so we try to respond to what they have to say. We obviously have to respond to what the council, and then again, you got the mayor's office and the state delegation. So, for a small department, I think we get a lot accomplished, but it's very frustrating to the men because they feel that they're unfairly criticized at times, and it's only due to the lack, of understanding about how things work and the pressures that you're under, the mayor's under, I'm particularly under. But all in all, I think they've done a decent job this winter. I know right here in front of me, I have 562 Click Fix orders that are just Click Fix. When you look at these, it's 562 individual orders, but there's multiple tasks in each one of these things. So you have roughly, 2,500 potholes just on Click Fix. That doesn't count what we brought in for subcontracting, what we did for trenches, what we've done for particular calls that come in from individual councilors, individual residents, and what comes in from the mayor's staff. So this winter was very trying. It was very difficult to get out there. Generally, we were out there in March to get a jump start, and we didn't get out there till May this year. So we're 2-3 months behind, and it's been a very difficult year for that, to say the least.
For everybody. And
Yes.
just before I give it to Councilor Reardon, those 2 water breaks that we had in Hitchborn and Shirley Ave, we're still waiting for those to be
I understand.
taken care of.
We got 2 of them down there. A couple of times we posted cards. Unless we told them, we're not going to get them.
Is that part of the private contract to do those?
No, not now. But when we do actuate the contract, yes, it can be. So that's something where
Is there some kind of time frame we're looking at?
I think by the time they get it out, there's two contracts. I think one has already been put out. I think that I've been on vacation, so I haven't followed up. I need to speak to Mike Kessman. But I think in the next couple of weeks that'll be done. We'll know, who the bidders are. We'll award the bid, and then we can start doing trench work. I feel maybe for this year, because I've always wanted to do this, and it gives us the ability to get ahead instead of trying to catch up and behind. So I think what probably will happen this year, I know in the city budget, just for the edification of the council, there was $50,000 in there. Well, I expect it for $100,000 because I can just see this money running out between what we need to accomplish over the course of the summer and the fall, and then you get right back into the winter that the $50,000 is not going to go enough. So you'll probably be seeing me up here sometime in November, December, looking for money to continue the program through the rest of the winter.
Okay, good. Councilor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just 3 points, first of which is regarding the winter plan. I would ask that you and the steering committee on this sit down with the individual city councilors at some point before this plan is stuck out on the table, just to get our input. And I have great faith in you guys. I'm sure you know the problems. You have to drive the trucks up the streets. You know what the fire department knows how difficult it is to access. So I have great faith in the fact that you'll come up with a plan that makes a lot of sense. Although I have to say that the councilors themselves, like for myself at least, I speak for myself, and I know everybody else, the ward councilors have been ruminating over some of the solutions to these issues for some time. And I think it wouldn't hurt once you guys have come up with a basic plan to come and sit down with us and see how we feel about it, and maybe offer some alternate suggestions if it makes sense before we start putting it out there and then ripping it all apart again. That would be number one. Number two, let me say that once we got up to speed with the potholes, I think you guys did a terrific job in considering, and especially, as you suggest, the winter that we had and the difficulties with gathering enough troops to handle these things. Lastly, and I know I'm probably taking words out of Councilor Janino's mouth, because she and I are extremely concerned about that intersection at Borden Street, which she mentioned at this prior public subcommittee meeting, and Fenno Street, where we have our own version of Niagara Falls, but we don't have any place for it to go. And it's, as you are well aware, it's caused an immense pothole problem. But beyond that, I see a catch basin there ready to go in the ground for like a year now, and I'm wondering when that's going to be in there to resolve that problem.
That pothole is delivered in late November, early December. We plan on doing that very shortly. Just so you know, I personally don't believe that that's going to be the cure-all for that intersection, because what you have is runoff coming down off the hill. So unless the residents that actually live there put a collection system on their property and directly pipe it into that structure that we're going to build there for them to get that water out of there, that water is still going to come out. It's going to freeze around the catch basin opening, and it's going to redirect water down the street. It will be it'll be a lot help. Like this time of year, it'll operate pretty well. But the people have to catch the water on their property and directly pipe it into that structure to eliminate the entire problem that's up there. We've spoken to the residents about it. They understand what that needs to be done. This problem's been there for many, many, many years. It seems with the large amount of rains we got 2 and 3 years ago, it's gotten a lot worse. And it's all groundwater coming out of the hills and so it needs to get into that drain system. And we're going to need some help from our state delegation, because that drainage system, when it runs down Boardman Street, has to cross over Revere Beach Parkway and dump out into the Mystic River, Chelsea Creek area. And right now, there's a problem with the state side of where the water dumps out. The culverts haven't been cleaned in probably, 40 years over there, and it has to develop a head before it can work its way through to this. So that's why you'll see puddling. I know the gentleman that was up here that wants to put his car wash in there, they experienced some flooding in that little triangle section down there. So there's some infrastructure work beyond what's happening at Fennel Street that needs to be done from just strictly a maintenance standpoint from the state side, so that water can flow freely to the Mystic River.
I wish I had the faith that you have in the fact that, a suggestion that it's groundwater, but honestly, from a layperson's point of view, it could not rain for two weeks, and there'd still be water pouring down there. And I have to wonder whether that's water escaping our own storm drain system, or whether it's even water, our piped-in fresh water that's somehow leaking out of the system that we presently have in delivering the water. And I'm very concerned about that from any number of aspects. But at least I will say this, that particular portion of Borden Street, at least that portion will be 9 months out of the year, will be much relieved by the installation of that catch basin. That's all I have to say, and I thank you.
And I firmly believe, Steve, if they do put a catch system on their property and pipe it directly into the basin, you'll get 90%, 95% of your problems will go away there. But they have to be able to collect that water and get it into the drainage system. We had the very same thoughts about our public water system leaking. We've done chlorination tests. We've run multiple companies up there doing leak detection. We've had the MWA up there doing leak detection, and it springs. Yeah, there's nothing really on the backside of that, and every part of the city has them. The Shirley Ave Hills have them. Right down here on Thurlow Ave, they have them. Beachmont has them. There's not an area of the city that's not impacted by these springs because we're so close to the ocean.
Thanks, Donnie.
Okay.
Council President Powers, you're up.
Donnie, good afternoon, good evening. My concern is that some of the things that I've turned in, not particularly to your department, but even to the mayor's office, were just left not done. I'll give you, for instance, down in Oak Island, there were probably a dozen potholes. After the mayor went down there on a weekend, they were all addressed within 2 days. And that's great. That's great. But my concern is that when myself or any other city councilor turns things in, they should get the same response as the mayor's office does. After all, we're all trying to work in the best interest of the citizens of this city, whether it's the mayor or the city council or your department. I sort of felt that back in March, we knew we were going to have a very difficult problem with potholes, with water breaks, with trenches, and we did. And I just don't understand for the life of me why we didn't have a meeting at that time. And we keep hearing about $6 million in free cash. Why someone didn't come to the city council and say, hey, look, we need $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, whatever's necessary, because we've got a tremendous amount of problems coming up in the spring. I'm sure that every member of this city council, although I can't speak for them, but I feel very confidently that every member of the city council would have turned around and said, okay, we'll give you the money, let's get it done. And that didn't happen. Guardrails, and I know we're talking about potholes, but I just want to mention this. Guardrails on Rice Avenue, they get taken care of sometime the end of April. We just finished last week Mills Avenue, and still, if you go down there today, even though there was a contractor down there doing it, you go down the end of Gilbert Avenue, there's a pothole, there's a guardrail down there that's completely destroyed and dangerous to somebody that's walking by there or happens to go to cross through there to get onto the beach. So I'm wondering why we can't get these things done in a quick manner. And I have a list here tonight, which I'm going to give you, and these are ones that have been turned in before to the mayor's office, and they're still not done, and I just can't understand it.
Well, if you can't understand it, Counsel, because you're not really paying attention to our manpower issues.
Listen, Donnie.
John,
Go ahead.
listen, I'm not going to go at it with you, but I'm telling you, I have 3 guys in that highway crew. I have nobody to fix guardrails. So we're trying to bring people out. We have no money for those guardrails. We budget $10,000 a year for a city with over 100 miles of roadways for guardrail systems. So your guardrails get in, and listen, I know all about those guardrails because when I was the council down there, I'm the one who had them put in.
Johnny,
So
they
I
had a
know
guy
what it
down
costs.
there doing the guardrails. And
Huh?
they had a guy down there that did 9
When
of them and left
we're
the 10th
capable,
one
John,
undone.
of having the money, getting it out to bid, and we spent every single dime we hit. That's why it was done in sections. We took care of Rice Avenue first, we ran out of money, we got some other money, we got it done. We get it done. We're trying to service all the residents of the city, the whole council, the mayor's office, and certain people, certain individuals just never happy with what we do. No matter what we do, they're just never happy. We try to be fair to everybody. And some people joke, well, I don't care about him. I hear us talk about we want to work together. I'm not concerned with what goes on in his area. I'm concerned with what goes on in my area. Well, that's when we get to the point and say, okay, we're going to do the balancing act, and we're going to try to be fair to everybody, John. So that's where we're coming from. We have a manpower shortage. I don't get involved in the financials of the city, what free cash is available for what. That's your job. That's not my job. Okay? So if anybody's willing to give us the resources, the manpower, the equipment, things that we'll gladly do it. We do the best we can with what we have. Guys are out there all the time. We try to do what we can. Some things take longer than others, and we have to prioritize. The things that we try to prioritize are things that we feel that will be detrimental to the larger populace of the city. Obviously, school districts come into play firsthand. Major roadways where there's a lot more traffic. And this is what we try to prioritize. We don't single out, oh, we don't want to do that for him, we don't want to do that for him. We look at this, because we have 11 councilors that say, okay, I need these 50 things done. And then we got the mayor's office saying, well, we got 100 things that need to be done. Then we have the residents of the community calling in daily with 100 things that they need done. So at the end of the week, you got 400 or 500 items on your plate, and you got 30 guys to deal with it.
Well, maybe then you should have the proper staffing down there to do
Well,
it.
John, I've been saying that since I was on the council.
Well, let the mayor send it up here, and we'll give him the proper staffing. Thank you,
Well,
Mr.
if you
Chairman.
can
Thank
pull
you,
that
Counselor.
rabbit out of your hat, John, you can find the money for that. The last 3 previous mayors who you worked for was in that same situation, and it hasn't changed.
Donnie, we keep hearing about $6 million in free cash.
John, I don't know anything about free cash.
Well, I only know what I hear up here from
I
the
don't know
mayor.
what, you didn't hear it from me.
I heard it from the mayor.
You didn't hear it from me, John.
I'm not, no, what I'm saying to you is, ask him to give you what you need, and have him come before the city council. And then if we don't give it to him, then shame on us.
Well, there's a balancing act that goes on here for the last 30 years that I've been involved with city government, I think. And it just seems that when push comes to shove, the money goes elsewhere.
Council Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. Donnie, I got a call today on the way down. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the pumping station in North Revere, it totally failed. I believe it's connected to the pipe that goes under Salem Street. That's not working either. That's broken.
The only thing that I'm aware of is, as of today, we're working on pumping stations up there.
Yeah.
We're changing pumps over, that the Milano Ave pump station is short of pump at this point. Whether something's happened between 1 o'clock was the last time I
Yeah.
talked to the guys, if a pump station was down. I'm not aware of that as of now, but as of 1 o'clock, I wasn't aware of any pump stations that were down. I am aware of the Milano Ave pump station is running on one pump presently, and we're replacing that entire pump station this summer. So in the next couple of weeks, they should be starting work on that Milano Ave pump station,
Is that the one in,
right off of Malden Street.
no, the one, this was up in North Revere, up by the brook up there, up, you know, the pipe that runs under Salem Street
Yes,
that's
that's the one that
broken
goes
now?
down, yeah.
And whatever
Well, there's two
pumping
of them.
station,
You got North Marshall Street and the Salem Street pump stations. It's
this is
down-
the one up in the hill, I believe.
Oh, Linehurst?
Yes.
Okay,
I just got the call about 3 o'clock
okay.
today.
So if there is, I'm sure the guys will respond to it. John, that's a brand-new pump station. I do know we have a little bit of a problem with a couple of residents up there. They're throwing a lot of grease and towels and things of that nature down into that pump station. So we are considering doing what we did down at the Furlong pump station and putting a grinder into the pump station so it'll grind up any materials before it has a chance to clog up the pumps.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like every year at this point, we're doing a 360. We're basically, it's deja vu all over again. Winter comes, everyone wants their street plowed. What do we need to do to get these streets plowed? We need plow trucks, we need the salt, and what does the maintenance do? It deteriorates our roads. Then spring comes, and what happens? Snow melts, and here we have all the potholes because of the road maintenance that we requested. So it's kind of a catch-22. But there is free cash out there for some money, and I know you don't want to get involved in that, but maybe some of us in the council should have a further discussion, maybe look into taking a portion of that free cash and resolving the issue. And I think with that said, it's a piece of conversation for the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
Thank you. I think we all are aware of how understaffed the DPW is, but for the people that they have and the amount of problems that they have to deal with, I think we do a pretty good job. I must say that See-Click Fix app is one of the greatest things that we've put in the city, and I cannot encourage people anymore to use it, because I get 5 emails a day that something's acknowledged, 10 emails a day that something's being fixed, and it is something that we get and that we look at, and it gets sent to the correct department, and it eliminates a lot of headaches for a lot of people. And I get the emails constantly, and I'm happy to see that people are using it, and it even will show you, like, if your neighbor posted an issue or if someone else posted about the same pothole. So I encourage residents to continue to use that and utilize it, because it's really awesome. Councilor Reardon mentioned my point about Fenno Street. I'm happy to hear that that's going to be worked on. Aside from that, you need more staff. There's nothing else that we can really say to you or talk about until we get you more people to help you out. But I'm happy to see all the kids in the work program out. I see them riding around in the truck, and it's great to see them out and fixing things and getting stuff done. So hopefully we work them hard while we have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rego, just to fill you in, we've already gone by the winter parking and snow removal plans, and basically we're looking at the target dates, August, September, October, and hopefully by the beginning of November, have a plans and ordinances in place. So that's where we are right now in that. We're talking about potholes and where the superintendent stands.
Whatever general questions you want to ask.
But, you know,
it's fine
so
with me.
right now, we have about 9 minutes before our regular council meeting, and I have one other council that has to speak.
All right, I'll have one question, Mr. Chairman. Donnie, in terms of the amount of money that we spent or that we have been spending with private contractors for potholes, yeah. And we talked about a little bit at our budget.
We talked about that a little earlier, but I'll bring you up to
Yeah.
speed on that, Brian. We do have a contractors out. I initially had told the council that we had asked for $50,000 so we can have a contract in place. Based on the amount of work that we see that's out there and what we're going to spend, I think that by the time November runs around, we're going to be kind of running out of that money. So I'm going to be back up here in November at some point, looking to probably put another $50,000 into that account to make it a $100,000 contract, so that we don't wait until April, May, June to try to attack these issues. We can bring in a contractor, especially for water trenches and things that are big, that they have to respond within a 24-hour period to come in and do the repair that we request them to do, especially with water breaks, and to catch up with the potholes. Because the bigger problem with the potholes, to get to a batching plant, you get up there, they usually only have one that's open, you get up there, you can only
Excuse me, Donnie,
3-4
gentleman
tons
in the
at a time.
back,
Yeah.
excuse me, gentleman, Councilor Zambuto. Thank you.
So sometimes the batching plant, you got to go to Watertown. Sometimes you got to go to Peabody, which Peabody is really not too difficult for us. I've talked with the mayor and George Anzoni about our capital planning. We're talking about buying 2 additional good-sized hot boxes that dump, and so we'll be able to double our capacity on what we can buy for material, because there are days that we get out there, and depending on what area you're working on, you lay down 8 tons of asphalt, and it's too late in the day to go back and get another load. So if we could have 2 trucks going out twice a day, grabbing an average of 3.5 ton, you can get 14, 15 ton a day. That seems to be what the contractors were doing when we brought them in. They were averaging between 8, 10, and on a good day, they could do 14 tons of asphalt a day. My predicament this winter was that I didn't have that contract.
Right.
And so I'm only allowed, under the law, to spend up to $10,000. So that's what we did. We went to the limit that we could spend. And then in taking the government money that came in from the state, because of the Chapter 90 regulations, we had to meet their bidding specifications. So you have experience in government. I don't need to tell you the bonds ratings that
Right.
they require. So we sent it out to bid twice, and both times we got nobody to bid on it because of the Chapter 90 and
Requirements.
DCAM regulations. So, but as a city, we can put it out and we can hire, most likely it'll be a local contractor that's in the city, so that it can respond to us within 24 hours.
Do we go around and check some of that work? Because I know at least in 2 instances, one is on Amasa and one cutout was on Mountain Ave, where work was done and it's already starting to kind of deteriorate.
The one on Mountain Ave was done by our team.
I got you, okay.
We had that, actually, that portion of the road was totally repaved probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
It's another problem with the spring. There's water under the road there. You can see how it's spidering in that same location. So at some point, in order to deal with that, we may have to put a subterranean drain underneath to drain that water from the roadway into the drainage system.
Yeah, and there is another one on Amasa where it's like turned into a kind of a sinkhole, where just in the middle of the street, and there's a little bit of a hill, going up towards Park Ave, or towards Mountain, and you can see it starting to fold in on itself. So
If you could just throw me an email tomorrow, Brian, I'll go look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll address it.
Great,
Okay?
thanks.
Well, thank you, councilors. I hope things were clarified some, and we show the issues that Public Works are going through. I thank Donnie for coming up and explaining a lot of things, and I hope the councilors were satisfied with your answers. I know not all of them were, but it's what we have and what we have to deal with. And just one quick question. On this private contract, can we get a multi-year contract?
It is a 3-year contract.
3-year, excellent. So that means we'll have to appropriate each year, as long as the appropriation
I put it out
is there.
that way, so now you can't get out of it, Council.
Okay, good. That's what I'd like to hear.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming and joining us, and the Revere City Council meeting will begin shortly. Thank you.